Hello YouTube, this is Ben Gessel. How's it going? I'm going to try to cut this video a little shorter. This is just really specifically having to do with my undergrad college work. I'm going to exclude the Pacific Northwest Sampling program from this video because everything I took there was amazing and extremely useful. It was the best thing I did. And it definitely set the tone for future work, what I want to do in competition. So I'm talking about undergrad stuff. I'm talking about all the undergrad stuff I had at BYU and Columbia Community College and Central Washington University. The best, the most valuable classes versus the least valuable classes. And some of them are a bit subjective, of course, because, well, I took some, I'll just put it this way, let's get this out of the way first. I took a few religion classes at BYU, and if you're Mormon, of course, you're going to find those classes more valuable. And if you don't really believe a lot of that stuff, well, there you go. So, that being out of the way, let's just take that. That's a different deal. Alright, so I'm just going to start with my education classes at Central Washington University. Now, I wasn't really cut out to be a public music school teacher. My horn teacher was correct when he mentioned that it was, and then also another band director. So there's some other folks that, basically they were right. I wasn't really cut out to be a public school teacher. The education classes specifically, not as useful. One in particular it was actually two, but really just terrible. It was a multicultural sensitivity type class. It's kind of common sense. We talk about just being considerate to people from different backgrounds, and that's the whole curriculum from class. Another class we talked about where we'd set up our things. I can remember some kind of, I don't know. It was just really, it was a dumb class. The whole I can't do justice to how ridiculously stupid this class was. It was another education class for. So we had a computer, called a education technology class. That was a little bit useful, but still pretty not so great. So I'm mentioning all these ed classes right off the bat. Some of them were really just terrible at Central Washington. There's an ed law class, which was kind of interesting, but that one had a little bit more value to it. Even for private instruction, you learn some basics about education, law regarding education. Moving over to some other things now. I'm mentioning the bad stuff first. The waste of time stuff, right? I've never been a fan of general education. I think it's stupid. You shouldn't be bothered with it at all. When you're done with high school, you should be done with high school, period. Anybody going into college should be very intelligent. Yeah. Should be able to write already. Should be able to write decent papers, academic papers, all that stuff. Critical reading, all that stuff. Shouldn't have to do any of that stuff. So, let me just say this. It was a waste of time. Largely the math, whatever math I did, TCC, general ed, the English was the world stuff I did at Community College. I took a U.S. history class at BYU, and I really shouldn't have had to take it because I had to take AP U.S. history in high school. I just didn't take the test to get the college credit. Okay, so, but there's a world history class. When it comes to history, absolutely, that's all very interesting to me. It's useful. History is useful, really. It is, especially for music. I mean, if you're a music teacher, that's the cultural thing. Is you're always crossing over with the music that you're playing, what context. It's all kinds of things that So that's all fine. But I guess in general, a lot of the general ed things, the astronomy, the geology, that's all. It's almost like a hobby thing for me. So we're getting into the little bit better stuff still, but really, so general ed was a step up for me a little bit beyond the really stupid ed classes I took. There's a few of them that were kind of. There's a few of them that were kind of musically oriented. It was all just, yeah, stupid. And don't take my word for it. There's many other people that have gone through music ed programs that would probably say similar kinds of things about certain classes in the music ed thing. And, if your band teacher, great. If it doesn't work out, it really sucks. But there's some things hopefully you can do if you're a good musician in music. Now, the more valuable class, this is my opinion, I took really, when it comes down to it, where you're certainly your horn lessons, or your instrument lessons, private lessons, and your ensembles. That's all very important. You might think it's not very important when you're in college, all the playing. But no, if you're a performance major as a musician, the more that you're going to be doing playing more in the future, the more you're going to be involved in performance in the future, the more important it is to be playing a lot of stuff, as well as your lessons, your private lessons. Now, I know there's the questions about music theory and all the little other music theory-ish things, and music history and counterpoint, and the more specialized literature classes and things. There's also conducting. I would say. I really shouldn't have had to do all the theory I did. I probably could have breezed through that, or had an AP theory class, and if it's offered, music theory class in high school, just ace there. So there's a lot of things that I already do, going into college. So it was an easy A. I should have been, but sometimes you have more rigorous professors. The conducting I did was, it was pretty useful, I thought. Counterpoint is something that is useful, kind of, but this is interesting. We're talking about early music, Gregorian, and then you had the Renaissance era, really the Middle Ages, and Renaissance. You have these different aesthetics and different kinds of voice leading rules and things that were evolving. And it's good to be aware of those things, and it's good to have a knowledge of those things. In fact, if you, across the board, this is all really important stuff to know. The thing is that there's a lot. The more detail you get into some of these certain aesthetics, the more that at a certain point you start to become a scholar in early music. Right? And early music to me is a little bit dull. It's a little boring. And it's never been my first love. So some classes, like counterpoint, were kind of dull. Didn't really enjoy it. I'm not really. I also took composition, avant-garde composition, a few quarters at least, maybe more than a few, but not super useful. Kind of. The second professor had this. I had three. I've actually had more than three. I've had at least four college professors, if not more. But when I was at Central Washington, the second of the two I had was a little bit more. I learned a bit more from him. But notation is good to know about. So the more the practical skills. Your competency on an instrument. Just being able to use theory, especially for writing music or for understanding it. That's important. Just in history, I think is pretty important too. Having knowledge of history, humanities in general. Your ensembles, your lessons. So the more music types of classes I had were in general a little bit more valuable. Again, especially the film screen program I took after college was really, really valuable. So unless there's I don't know, practical skills, right? I think what I'm trying to say with this video is the most valuable, least valuable college classes. There are times when you'll be going through that pass the bar exam kind of thing if you're a lawyer, and those kinds of certificate kinds of things. But if you're talking about just developing skills and having skills to be able to get jobs, um, in music at least, the raw areas of skill, the competency in an instrument, one, like technique, all that stuff. Conducting is another area. Composition is another area. Those are the kind of maybe more skill kinds of things. But there's also, your ability to teach, your ability to. There's also the knowledge and the theory and history and aesthetics, that sort of thing too. Knowledge of literature, that sort of thing. A few other kinds of things like that. So also things like music business. I never took music business, but anyway, leave your thoughts and comments below. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.